Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to the SFC interviews here with former Stevenage striker, striker, midfielder, in fact, attacking midfielder, Steve Guppy. There you go. That's the first mistake out of the way already. And it's afternoon where you are as well, over in America. So good afternoon to you.
Yeah, no, good afternoon. I've been referred to quite a few things in my time. So striker, midfield. I answer to most things, but no, thanks for having me on.
No, not to worry. It's, looking forward to this one. Of course, you've had a very illustrious career as well. So we'll sort of delve into that a bit. And then obviously get to Stevenage when that comes up as well.
Yeah, I'm ready when you are.
Okay, so we were just talking off air actually, just about your youth career. So just tell us a bit about sort of how it all started for sort of for you in terms of in football when the kind of age I guess that it all started out for you.
Yeah, do you know what? When I do a few of these podcasts, I've done a few, especially with lockdown recently. There's been more requests than normal, and one of the reasons I agree to do these things is because my pathway into professional football was a strange one, and although I'm not sure what the age group is of people who will watch this, but maybe there'll be a parent out there or even a young kid watching this. I can't imagine there'd be a young kid watching this, but you never know. And just to give them a little bit of hope, really, because it really is quite a bit of a miracle, really, that I actually became a professional footballer. I'll explain, really, is that I like most kids, obviously football mad as a young kid, and I was pretty good, I guess, at 11, 12. And then the rest of the kids that around me all grew, and I didn't. Which was really unfortunate, and that happens a lot. I see it all the time in academies, whatever. Kids have different growth spurts, different ages, and I was one of the unlucky ones where I stayed small and everyone else grew. Affected my confidence, and I guess if people are listening to this and with the kids in that, it might strike a chord with them, because ultimately it became so bad. I never was never offered an apprenticeship at any football club. So I had to venture onto a building site to earn some money and whatever. And I swear this is true, I didn't kick a ball from the age of 16 to 18.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I actually retired for the first time at 16. Not only was I, very small, I was very immature as well. There was a lot of development needed to happen, and I just had enough. So I didn't kick a ball for 2 years. I, like I said, was on a building site and what have you. And how I actually started out up again was some schoolmates started up a team down in Southampton area, like Sunday afternoon, Southampton Division 6. So they entered the league, pretty much as low as you could get. Mm-hmm. And they asked me to play in it. So as all my schoolmates were doing it, I thought, well, why not? I have a bit of fun, But in between that time, from 16 to 18, so I'm 18 now. When they started this team up, I'd had my growth spurt, and all of a sudden, all the things that I had, the pace came back and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. So, I really sort of kind of things went really well for me as in this Division 6. I enjoyed it again, and then all of a sudden, teams started knocking on the door and whatever, and it all happened really, really quite quickly. But the irony is, when I think back to that time when I was playing at a place called Fleming Park down in Southampton, one of those scenarios where you got like 10 odd pitches and all the pitches have got teams on them. Mm-hmm. I'm playing in that, just with my mates and having fun. Yet across in Spain, there's a guy called Ferrer making his debut for Barcelona, and no more than 6, 7, maybe 8 years later, it would, it would turn out that I ended up playing against him when I was playing for Leicester City.
Yeah,
and I just think how incredible, how things can change. You never know what pathway your life's going to take. But if you'd have told me, when I was playing at Fleming Park, that in 8 years you'll be playing against a Barcelona fullback, and I actually thought I did all right against him as well that day. But incredible. So I always like to try and tell that story, because kids have different growth spurts, and I had plenty of people tell me at 14, 15, 16, school teachers, that I didn't have a chance of becoming a footballer, blah, blah, blah. I believed them, retired for 2 years, but somehow managed to find my way back in it.
And we've had the first comment as well from Kieran. And he just says, Steve, Guppy. That's Kieran, who was physio when you were at Stevenage.
Yes, when you said Kieran, I wondered if it was him. Yeah, he didn't have any worries about being too small. I think he was born 6'4".
I remember. I used to.
I hope he's well.
I used to play football with Kieran as well myself.
Okay.
Sort of down the local park and things like that. Yeah,
brilliant.
So obviously we touched on how you got into the game there. So were you always sort of naturally gifted with your left peg as well, or was that something that you kind of sort of trained yourself to get as good as you were on?
No, when it comes back to well, really, my dad was a massive influence on my whole career, as most dads are, I guess. But he was a goalkeeper and he played for West Brom. But earlier on in his life, as a young man, he played for Winchester City in non-league. But Winchester City at the time were a pretty good team, and he played alongside a player called Terry Payne, who was a Southampton legend in the 1966 World Cup squad.
Yeah, the name is familiar to me. Yeah.
Great player. Anyway, so Terry was a left winger, and he marvelled at how he used to be able to drop his shoulder and beat players. And I don't think my dad was that keen on me being a goalkeeper. So it was the start of something where most parents have their kids in the back garden taking shots at him.
Yeah.
Whereas we did it differently. He got me running at him, dropping my shoulder, and going past him. I mean, I was born like left-footed, and that was to answer your question. But that was really the start of my football, apprenticeship really with him. Is that we were in the garden, he got me dropping my shoulder. And when I look back now, when I think of position-specific coaching, which is what I essentially do as a coach, they were really the starting blocks of what not only a playing career, but now a coaching career. So to me, he was light years ahead of people, where position-specific coaching is now becoming a little bit more fashionable, whereas we were doing it all them years ago in the back garden.
And then, of course, from when you sort of got into the game, then your first club that you really went to was Wycombe, and that was under Martin O'Neill, wasn't it? And a very successful time as well, getting promoted from the conference and going on and being successful with that FA Trophy campaign as well.
No, of course, it was it was incredible rise, really, where I it was only like I say, a couple of years earlier, I was playing park football. Eventually, there was a guy, Matt Crosley, who played for Wycombe Wanderers for many years. His dad, Ian Crosley, came and scouted me playing for a team called Colden Common, who had took me from my mate's team the year before. So I was playing in Hampshire Division 1.
Yeah.
And it just a strange really how things work out. I mean, I was doing all right for Colden Common in this Hampshire League Division 1, not pulling up trees, really, just doing okay. And we drew Bashley in the Southampton Senior Cup. And it was an evening game. A couple of things really. I played in the floodlights for the first time ever. And it was an evening game. Anyway, went down there. Couldn't wait. It was like finished work. Went down there in a mini bus with lads. It was fantastic. Unbeknown to me, that the right back at Bashley, big lad, he was like 6'2", whatever. There was a lot of clubs watching him. But I didn't really think, I was just buzzing to be playing under the lights. I like playing against the tall ones because they were slow turners in my mind. Anyway, I must have done okay against him, because although we lost the game, my phone rang about 20 times the next day from a number of different teams, and Wycombe was one of them. So, yeah.
And, I was just going to say about playing under Martin O'Neill as well. Somebody that, that was the first club that you played under Martin at, and then obviously it kind of, sort of blossomed from there, because you played under him, at a number of clubs in your career.
Yeah, I think you need a lot of luck in this life, no doubt. And to get a manager who saw something in you and believed in you. was obviously great news. But then to add on to that, a manager who was actually really good and going places was obviously the dream ticket for me. There was a group of us at Wycombe who he really grabbed us by the coattails and dragged us, along and taught us, that really that just installed so much confidence in all of us. We're all about the same age, mainly in this Wycombe team. Young players who've not quite made it for whatever reason, but actually had some talent. And he dragged it and he installed a belief into us and a will to win. And like I say, we won the trophy twice, and we obviously won the Vauxhall Conference. Then went up and went up from League Two into League One via the playoffs. So it was all happened so quickly. It was fantastic, and I was really fortunate that he took me pretty much wherever he went.
And then after your time at Wycombe as well, then you moved on from there to was it Newcastle United as well under Kevin Keegan. So quite a big move really for somebody just coming into the Football League to get a move of that magnitude as well. And of course, as you say, I'm sure Kevin Keegan obviously watched you a couple of times and sort of rated you as a player as well to be able to bring you into sort of league football and higher league football at that.
Yeah, I mean, I look back now and it was, Kevin Keegan was someone I used to watch when I was at Southampton, so he's a little bit of a hero. So when we went up through Wycombe into League One and Newcastle showed an interest, they were top of the Premiership at the time. And I mean, it was a very exciting time, of course, to sign for a team top of the Premiership there. Andy Cole, Peter Beardsley up front, good players. And you're right, I'd had 1 year as a pro. And it just was probably a little bit too much for me. Whereas I lasted there for about 6 months. And I think what didn't help me is I think Newcastle signed a deal with Adidas, I think it was. I could be wrong.
Right.
And they got a real influx of money that I don't think they were expecting. I could be wrong on this. But so rather than drag players like myself, Jason Drysdale was another lad who signed the same day as me from Watford. Rather than get younger players and bring them through, they now had the money to go out and get ready-made players. So they got rid of me and got in David Ginola. So I'm not sure they were too gutted when I left. But there you go.
And then when you left Newcastle as well, it was Port Vale then. That was your next move in your career. And we were talking about it earlier as well, that, Port Vale, you made a number of appearances for them. It was around about over 100 appearances for them and are now involved in their Ultimate 11 as well. So I'm sure that's something nice to take away from that.
Well, thanks for mentioning that. I appreciate it. I didn't know about that, actually. I actually don't know what the Ultimate 11 actually means, but anyway, it was a great period, and in many ways it was a jump up because I was in Newcastle for 6 months, but I played one first team game. The rest of the time I was playing in the reserves, and it was one. I was actually telling someone this the other day when I was told by Kevin Keegan that he'd had a bid from Port Vale and he'd accepted it. Coming from Southampton, you have to forgive me that I didn't know where Port Vale was. I didn't even know what the league they were in. So as I was walking out the door, being told that I should be going there, I was busily trying to work out where it was I was going. So as I was driving down to the Potteries, to sign, basically, there was a billboard outside the newsagents saying Premiership star signs for Vale.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is good news, because we're actually fourth bottom at the time. And I'm thinking,
so you're hoping that you're going to be there, alongside somebody else. Yeah.
And it turns out they're talking about me, which was I was devastated when I realised because I was hardly a Premiership star, So I went there and, like I say, we were fourth bottom, but managed to survive. And then the manager John Rudge was a great manager, and he did some wheeling and dealing, and before you know it, we were very close to the playoffs and fighting to try and get in amongst the shout for getting in the Premiership. It was that was the thing. They were in the Championship, and it was a great period, but it was also an important period for me to to establish myself in the game, really, in like the championship level.
And that's your time at Port Vale there as well. One of the things that you did take part in was the Anglo-Italian Cups, and obviously, what was that like as a competition? Because I've not, I don't have many memories regarding that. To be honest with you.
No, it was. One thing about Port Vale is that the budget was a little bit tight. Didn't have much money, so we were playing Italian teams, and we'd leave Vale Park about 5 o'clock in the morning. We'd get the flight, and then we'd get the coach all over Italy, wherever we were going. Yeah. Have pre-match, play the game, and then drive back and do all in one day.
Oh wow!
So but it was amazing to think that we actually did that, got to the final. But it was new, it was exciting. I mean, the competition itself, there was no love lost, it seemed, between Italian teams and English teams for whatever reason. And it was, I wasn't surprised when it came to an end, to be honest. But we got to play at Wembley, albeit we got smashed by a very, very good Genoa team, I think, who I think their star striker signed the next day for Parma or what, like ridiculous, but getting there and the experience was definitely good fun.
And then from there, is when it really kicked off, because that was the move to Leicester City and being reunited with Martin O'Neill again. And that Leicester side, that was a fantastic side, wasn't it, as well? There was so much talent in that Leicester squad there.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible, really, how it all came about. But yeah, once I got to Leicester, there was obviously a period, settling in period. You got to move from the Championship into the Premiership, the big step up. So there's always doubts about whether you're going to be good enough and all the rest of it. And I was moved actually from a left winger to wing back. I became a left wing back at that point.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that wing back role because you're the only person out that side. Okay, you got more defensive duties, but it's really about just getting up and back and supplying crosses and what have you. So it turned out to be a role right up my street. But yeah, my time at Leicester was just magical, really. You're quite right. We had some really good players there. Muzzy Izzet, top player, Matty Elliott, Neil Lennon, Emil Heskey. You can go on and on. Excuse me. So it was a great time. We won some things. We got into Europe. You name it, it happened. It was a memorable period.
And my Premier League team that I follow is Arsenal as well. Of course, you were knocked out by Nottingham Forest in the Cup yesterday.
Yeah.
And one of my first Arsenal games was actually at Highbury against Leicester. And I'm sure you were playing. It was a 2-1 victory for Arsenal. And you're one of your old teammates, Steve Walsh, scored an own goal that day. I'm sure if he listens to this, then forgive me for mentioning it. But that was one of my first memories as an Arsenal fan.
Do you know what? It's funny. I did play that game. I know exactly what you're on about. It's funny. You look back, and there were certain teams which really, for whatever reason, stacked up well against us or whatever. Like for argument's sake, we never lost to Liverpool.
Yeah.
We used to go to Anfield and regularly win, which they were a good team. They're still obviously a great team now, but
yeah.
So they're Man United. We look forward to that. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose. Arsenal always lost. I mean, the amount of lone afternoons I had at Highbury, I can't tell you. It's funny because Thierry Henry made his debut for Arsenal against me.
Yeah.
And I always it was incredible, really. There's someone, basically, it was the first game of the season, and it was a really hot day. And I think we were drawing at the time. And I'd been up against Ray Parlour, who obviously was, really hard working, and we kind of cancelled each other out. So like 70th minute, first game of the season, I'm pretty tired at this point. And Ray gets taken off, and this big guy, Henri, comes on. And I'm thinking, well, this won't be too bad. He's had a rough time in Italy. I think we could do all right.
Yeah.
Well, in the 20 minutes he came on, I think he had 5 1v1s against our keeper. I mean, he was unbelievable. So I like to think that I gave him that little platform to do well. He must have been thinking the Premiership, is it going to be difficult? And after playing against me for 20 minutes, I think he realised he was going to be all right in this league.
And of course, we touched on Leicester there a little bit as well. And you said that there was multiple things that you won, and one of those was the League Cup as well. And then after that there was the 2 League Cups actually, wasn't it? And then there was the one of them being a defeat to Tottenham, and one that you won, and then also was it Europa League as well?
Well, we got into we won the League Cup. So first time I got there, I just arrived for Leicester and we beat Middlesbrough in the League Cup. I was cup tied, so I got to experience the whole thing, but obviously couldn't play. And then a couple of years later, we got back to the final again, like you said, against Tottenham. We lost that 1-0 in the last minute.
Yeah.
That was a tough one. But then came back the following season and beat Tranmere in the final. If you remember Tranmere at the time, they had Challoner, I think, who had the long throw.
Yes.
And they knocked out a lot of big teams on their route. So they played us in the final, and we managed to beat them. So the League Cup, it always seemed to be something going on, which was obviously amazing. And of course, you win that, then you get into Europe, where we got to play against great teams like Atletico Madrid and fabulous experiences. Yeah.
And then after Leicester, there you went on and you moved across the border into Scotland to play for Celtic as well. And again, another big club as well, massive club actually, Celtic as well. And what was that like to play over in Scotland as well, and sort of some of the big differences in the Scottish and the English leagues?
Yeah, I think I mean, to sign for a team like Scotland, you have to. Oh, sorry, Scotland, but Celtic, you have to really go there to understand it. Everyone goes, oh yeah, they're quite passionate up there, but unless you've actually been there and sampled it, you won't really understand it. It is every home game 60,000. No matter who you're playing. That's the first thing. I mean, for me personally, I signed for Celtic, and Martin O'Neill had already started to build an exceptional team. It really was. I mean, if you think of the front line of Henrik Larsson, Chris Sutton, and John Hudson, they were our front three. We played like the wing-back role. So we had basically John and Henrik up top and Chris Sutton just behind them as a 10, but he really linked in. Yeah. So when I was in the team, and it was a joy really to be crossing balls in for those three. It was phenomenal. And you go around the whole team, and it was full of international players. Really was. We got to the UEFA Cup final.
That's right. Yeah.
And lost to a very good team run by Mourinho Porto. Mm-hmm. But along the way, some of the teams we beat was it was incredible. But my own story at Celtic is I didn't play as much as I wanted to. It was so difficult. It's so difficult. If you were in the team playing, fantastic, because they used to win most weeks. But if you slipped out of the team with injury or lack of form or whatever, it was so difficult to get back in. So you'd be on the outside looking in for so long. And they had a rule at the time where only 2 under-21s could be two under-21s had to be on the bench.
Okay.
So there was only like 2 or 3 spots as a sub to. So not only was it difficult getting the team, it was nearly as hard to get on the bench. So great times when I played, but there was a large period out as well, which I must admit I struggled with.
And then what was that derby like? Obviously, the Celtic Rangers derby like to play in, to be involved in a Celtic squad in.
Yeah, well, that really, gets back to how I started, really, about the whole, you have to be there to understand it. The European nights, playing in the Champions League for Celtic was another highlight, incredible standard of football that was. But yeah, the Old Firm games, absolutely incredible. You couldn't hear yourself think on the pitch. I think building up to it the whole week, you wouldn't really be going out or thinking like that. You stay away because it was Glasgow, big city, but there's only 2 teams.
Yeah.
So you're in, it's like living in a goldfish bowl. You couldn't really go anywhere without someone being on your case about something or other. It was another level of, being noticed or whatever you want to call it. But so yeah, playing in Old Firm games, I believe I experienced all the scenarios. I think we won, we drew, and we lost in the games I won, or played in rather. And so I experienced, the full range of emotions. So yeah, they're, if anyone's not been to one, you get a chance to go. Don't turn it down.
Nah, absolutely. I've never been myself, but it's one of the derbies that even just watching it kind of just gets you there. You're thinking about just the rivalry really, and if you get the opportunity to go, like if I get the opportunity to go, I'd absolutely love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean there is. Don't be wrong. I mean it's a lot of local derbies in England. I mean even the Potteries derby, Stoke and Vale.
Yeah.
People who are not from the area won't realise that's a nasty derby. Southampton, Portsmouth. There's another one.
Yeah.
Obviously, So don't be wrong. There's some derbies out there that are obviously very intense. Arsenal, Tottenham. I'll go on and on. But for sheer numbers and they're just in each other's pockets. Really, how close they are. There is nothing quite like it.
And then after your time at Celtic came to an end, was a return to Leicester, and just tell us a little bit about moving back to Leicester and going back to play for them. Was that quite an easy decision to make?
Well, I had a couple of other options. I'd been out injured at Celtic, and I got myself fit, but it did really come down to it. I just couldn't see a way back in the team at that point because they'd done so well. I'd been out for quite a while. And an opportunity came to make the move before my contract ran out. There was only like a few months left to go. And yeah, I went back to Leicester, which probably wasn't the best move I did. The whole old saying of you should never go back. I probably should have listened to that. But it was just different. I'd had 4 or 5 years under Martin O'Neill there. Amazing experience. I had 1 season with Peter Taylor, which didn't go quite so well. But, when I went back, Mickey Adams was the manager and Dave Bassett was sort of overseeing it all.
Okay,
And it just, it was nice to go back and play with Mozzie Izzet and see the guys again. But, ultimately it wasn't a really successful period or anything like that. And in hindsight, maybe I should have made a different move.
And when you were at Leicester, obviously you said there that you played under Peter Taylor, who had a spell at Stevenage as manager as well. And also, you played alongside Sam McMahon, who also came to Stevenage as well. So some links there as well. Yeah,
it's funny you mentioned Sam. I used to room with Sam McMahon. I get on really well with Sam. The links are there. I didn't get on so well with Peter Taylor. but now as a coach, I understand. At the end of the day, it's all about opinions, and he came to Leicester and thought it would be better off with someone else on the left wing back, which is understandable, no problem. At the time it was, but as a selfish player, that's the way you go. But so I really like Sam, and it'd be made up. You mentioned him there. That's good.
Yeah, I spoke to Sam already on the channel as well, and he's another, a fantastic player as well. Obviously, he had quite a bit of misfortune at Stevenage in terms of injuries, didn't he, as well?
Well, he had it anywhere he went. It was just a very committed lad, and maybe he was a bit too brave for his own good. I don't know, but yeah, he had some bad injuries at Leicester. I remember he was a young player when I was there, really.
Yeah.
So he was just finding his way. Obviously, played, got into the first team at Leicester, fair play. But yeah. Well, listen, he had a career in the game, and like I say, he ended up at Stevenage and obviously did pretty well.
And then after your time at Leicester, the second spell at Leicester, you moved to Leeds United and you played a couple of games for them, scoring against Nottingham Forest as well. A goal that I'm sure, as an ex-Leicester player, you loved.
Yeah, I just realised that. Listen, when you get to a certain age, and I was at that age then, I can't remember, so like 36, 37, you got to expect to bounce around a little bit. So I looked upon it all as a bit of an adventure. So I went to Leeds United for a while. I went to Stoke for a while. I think I went back to Wycombe. I bounced around a little bit, for a while. All highs and lows, some different experiences. But actually, looking back now, it probably helped me to become a coach. Because if you remember, if you think about it, when I was mainly my bulk of my career really at Leicester City, I had a great manager, Martin O'Neill. The coaches were Steve Walford, John Robertson, and I was looking at them thinking, I don't really see myself as a coach because these guys are too good, and that's the only thing. Without mentioning any names, I bounced around other teams with other managers and other coaches and realised that they were just, maybe these lot weren't as good as, as Steve Walford and Martin O'Neill. So I thought, well, actually, maybe I could do all right.
And then at a little bit regards to Leeds there, your time at Leeds, I had a question come through from a friend of mine, Russ, and he's a big Leeds fan. He just wanted to know really in regards to what side of the fence did you sort of prefer to be on as a home player or an away player at Ellen Road?
Well, where would I rather play? Well, at home or away?
Yeah, like at Ellen Road, and the atmosphere of sort of Leeds as a home stadium and that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Leeds, you're in no doubt. It was a big club. It was in a strange place, Leeds at the time. The Championship. I didn't play. I think I only played about 3 or 4 games. It was a funny old atmosphere at the time. But I mean, the supporters themselves, they're home and away as any big club. They're always there. They're always demanding if you play well. Fantastic. Yeah. It was funny that day I scored against Forest. I had to give a penalty away as well.
Oh wow!
It was that I experienced the highs and lows that day. But listen, I look back now and go, wow, I played for Leeds United. What a great great experience. It was clear, it was lovely to score at Ellen Road. I enjoyed looking back now. I enjoyed it all.
And I think the other part of that question he really wanted me to ask as well was actually in regards to, if, for you, like Leicester, I suppose, and teams like that in your career as an away player. How did you find it as an away player playing at Ellen Road as well?
Yeah, enjoyed it. It's playing in the Premiership, or the Championship, mainly the Premiership, you get to play against these big clubs, which is what you always dream about, and no different to any other, up and coming player at the time. You want to go and play at Ellen Road, you want to play at Anfield, Old Trafford. So when those games came about, and there was a challenge, especially that Leicester City team, really. We were, before Martin O'Neill came into Leicester City, they really were that team that used to bounce between the Championship and the Premiership. Too good for the Championship, not good enough for the Premiership. Yeah. So really, when he came in and gave it a bit of a shake-up, all of a sudden we were now competing on a fairly reasonable level with these, so-called bigger teams. So we certainly look forward to it. And going to Ellen Road, at the time when I was at Leicester, David O'Leary was manager, and they had some very good players. Very good players, Hasselbank and Harry Kewell, list goes on and on. So to play them, sometimes lose, sometimes win. Yeah. It was it felt great to be involved in it.
And then from Leeds, obviously you mentioned there that you had spells at Stoke and also at Wycombe as well. And then you went out to the States to play for D.C United, and what were some of the differences and experiences like over playing at DC as well? And of course, one of your ex-teammates being Freddie Adu as well, who, at that time was raved about. He was obviously young and up and coming. I think he was only about 13, 14, but he was being seen as sort of, one of the big superstars who was going to come through that side.
Yeah, no, it was actually 15. 15, Freddie, bless him. It was at a time where I just felt I was ready for another challenge. As I just told you, I've been bounced around a little bit, and I wanted, been in the game quite a long time, and the chance to go and sample something different in the MLS in America. I jumped at it. I couldn't wait, and DC United. It was great. Me and my wife, we obviously moved out there. lived in a big city, right downtown. It was really a great experience for both of us, really. But yeah, that DC move, I remember I was telling people that, I think I was making my debut for DC, and I had the ball and I was running down the line with it.
Yeah.
And I could I'm aware of a big roar going up the other end of the stadium, which in years gone by would tend to mean there's some crowd violence or there's some trouble. Not there was loads of it that I saw in my English career, but there was definitely something going on up at the other end of the pitch. So once I'd finished what I was doing, I turned around and looked to see what it is, and rather than crowd violence, there was a giant teddy bear like catapulting sweets out into the crowd.
Oh wow!
And I just thought, wow, welcome to America.
Yeah, completely different to being over in England. I'm sure,
really family orientated. They have these, big sort of barbecues before the game, tailgating in the car parks. It's a day thing. They all get into it. And that was, bear in mind, that was what, 2005, 2006, long time ago. So, and as you rightly say, Freddie Adu was there. He would regularly mistrain him because he was off with Pele shooting commercials for like one of the brands. I can't remember, Puma or whatever. Yeah. So it was funny being around him and seeing all the, we'd go on the road to play, and like the billboards would say, Freddie Adu plays tonight, and then little brackets with DC United. And, and I'm not sure the manager at the time at DC liked it. But anyway, it was, once again, it was a new experience. Freddie was a nice lad, didn't quite, reach the heights that he hoped he would, but he still had an okay career.
And then after DC United was your move to Stevenage, and being brought in by the boss Mark Stimpson at the time. And what was it about Stevenage? Of course, coming back to the UK, and then Stevenage, as a club as well to sign.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm glad. I wanted to talk about this. I'd retired, right? So I came back from America. I had tendonitis in my Achilles. It was really bad. And anyway, I retired, and I was living down in Chichester, minding my own business. And then I got a call from a guy called John Halliwell, who was who I've known for many years, a great guy, and he was friends with Mark Stimpson. Yeah. And he said, "Look, Stimo's been on the phone. They've got an injury crisis down at Stevenage. What do you think about going down and helping out?" Mm-hmm. So it just so happened I'd been in the gym for a few months, and I'd been actually what I was on a training camp, and maybe I get a chance to talk about this at the end, where when I finished my career, I wanted to try and think about coaching, what sort of coach did I want to be, and I just kept coming back to the stuff I did with my dad in the back garden about taking players on, and I realised that the art of 1v1s, beating players, to me is the hardest thing in the game. I think, no doubt, is to score a goal. But after that, to me, is to try and beat a player. Yeah, that's why you don't see it very often in any level. So I really wanted to try and get involved in that. So I started to watch videos of myself playing, because I remember there was days where I would be able to take players on and get past them, and it was like great. But then other days, same player, it'd be like pulling teeth. Yeah, and I'm struggling to get around for whatever reason. So I started to watch videos and really, as I had time, since I was retired at times, so I spent hours and hours working on it. And over a period of the last, 10 odd years, I've kind of come up with a bit of a 1v1 formula, a chain of events really to for the player to help them in this whole 1v1 idea, because it doesn't get coached, it doesn't get spoke about, and that's something that really I've taken into my coaching. So I've been on a training camp with a lad called Sean Maloney, who's now, he was recently assistant manager with Belgium, and he's now gone to Hibs as manager, I think.
Was he the same Sean Maloney that you were with actually as a player at Celtic?
Yes. Well,
Yeah.
I roomed with him. He was a young lad. I was obviously a senior player, and they thought it was a good idea to room him with me, and we hit it off. And very talented player, very talented player. But so we started working. He was a winger as well, so we used to work a lot on 1v1. So he, when I retired, he was at Celtic doing really well in the first team. He came down to Chichester and stayed with me, and me and him did like a little 1v1 training camp, just me and him.
Yeah.
Where it helped me with my coaching, and I was teaching him or trying to offer up, ideas of to help with the whole taking a player on process. So we did this for like 2-3 weeks. We really shot ourselves away. And at the end of it, as you can imagine, we're working each other 2-3 hours a day, just me and him. We became really fit. I mean, he was obviously in the prime, and I've been chasing shadows for 3 weeks because he was so good.
Yeah,
he went back to Celtic, and I think he went on to, I think he signed for Villa that year.
Yeah, just after.
I was kind of like, wow, all my little injuries and that have cleared up, and I'm now feel really fit. And it just coincided that John rang me up and said, I think it was a lad called Binns at Stevenage, a left wing.
Dale Binns, Dale
Binns, really nice lad. He'd got injured. So I went down and trained with Stevenage for no other reason, just to have a training session. I must have done okay because Stimo's like, will you sign?
Yeah.
So it wasn't really planned or anything like that. But the thing is that when I signed Stevenage, we were bottom of the league. I think it was like 6 games in.
And really struggling. Yeah,
it was a real effort. It was a struggle. But when I signed, they also signed Steve Morrison.
Yes,
we signed the same day.
Yeah.
But what it did, not just the fact, I mean, Steve Morrison obviously turned out to be a really top Premiership player.
Yeah.
And of course, I then moved to the left wing, but a lad called George Boyd was playing left wing.
Yeah, the brilliant white Pele, as he was known as. Yeah.
Quite right. Now, George didn't enjoy playing on the wing. Yeah. So when I signed, he then could move in to number 10, where he really thrived. But also you throw into the mix, only a few weeks later, Stimo also signed Bradley Johnson on loan.
Yeah, from Norwich. Yeah.
So now you're looking at that team who are bottom of the conference with George Boyd, Steve Morrison, Bradley Johnson. I mean, you had other things like I'm just looking at, Adam Miller.
Yeah.
Adam Miller. There's someone who really I think thrived with Brad because he's a good player. Barry Fuller was another fullback that came in who went on to have a long. Well, I think he's still playing, is he?
Yeah, I believe so. But he had, a very long and sort of successful career at Gillingham, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. So that was how it really started. Really, is that it was sort of a number of things happened. I was feeling really fit and I really enjoyed it. I have to say that period when I first went in there for the first 4 or 5 months, we went on a roll. One funny story was, I think when we first went in there. The chairman came in, obviously worried that we're bottom of the league.
Yeah.
And came up with an idea that if we won 2 or 3 games on the spin, then every win after that, he would put £1,000 in the holiday fund.
Yes, I've heard this story as well. Some of the other players have mentioned it. Yeah.
So incredible. I mean, it was when you look now and look at the names have just spelled out. There was obviously others, some really good players.
Ronnie as well, of course, Captain Ronnie. Yeah.
There you go. I mean, I'll go on and on, but those guys, I've only mentioned the 3 players who played in the Premiership. That's how mad it was. So we'd actually, Stimo put together an incredibly talented team. So although we were 6 games in or whatever it was, they were bottom of the league. By the time we all came together, and then and Steve started smashing in goals, George was in his number 10, started to thrive.
Yeah,
it was amazing, and we went on an incredible run of winning games, and unfortunately for us, George was sold just before.
Yeah.
And I do think we were too far behind to win the league at that point, but I think if it had stayed. I really do believe we'd have made the playoffs, and I don't think anyone would have fancied us in that playoffs.
No, and I remember there was the one game in particular, you actually scored in it yourself as well, the Merthyr Tydfil game in the FA Trophy, the 7-0 game. And that was, to be fair, the George Boyd show, wasn't it? He got 4 goals that day and was just literally everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it was clear to see. Obviously, I'd been around a lot at that point, and you recognise talent when you see it. I'm looking around at a team that's supposedly bottom of the conference, and you think, wow, this lad's super talented. Steve Morrison come in from Chelmsford Town. It's like he knows what he's doing, this lad, And
yeah, well, obviously he was released by Northampton Town, wasn't he, and things like that. But
okay, yeah, but he was playing at Chelmsford. Stimo got him from Chelmsford. Adam Johnson was where was he playing? I think he was he from Colchester or
what you mean, Millsy, Adam Miller?
No, sorry. Bradley Johnson. Bradley. What's that?
Yeah,
Bradley Johnson. Bradley Johnson came in on loan. Wasn't Northampton? I think it was.
Yeah, Northampton. Yeah,
Northampton. And you're looking around, we've got a hell of a team here. So for that little period where we just went on a roll and really steamrolled most teams, it felt like like an Indian summer for me. It was a brilliant time to be at the club.
And when you look back on your time there as well, and of course you were signed as an experienced professional, really, in that group. And were there members of that squad and members of that group that kind of looked to you for a bit of advice and leadership?
Wow. I mean, first and foremost, we had a very good manager in Mark Stimpson who knew what he was doing. Scott Barrett was his assistant. And I think everyone just rode the wave. I like to think that maybe I could have, helped with, especially in the attacking third. But I think more than anything, I was hopefully contributing. I was putting plenty of crosses in, getting plenty of assists for Steve and George. And it was also the big thing, really, I guess, is that because I played on the wing, then George was able to move inside, and those, although not directly involved in that, the fact that I played on the left, he could then move in, and there was a player, going places, and we all kind of rode the wave.
And then, of course, you mentioned Steve there, you mentioned George Boyd, and then obviously Boyd, he left, and following on from him was obviously Mitchell Cole as well. Mitchell Cole there, who of course has sadly passed away now, back 2012. A big part of that FA Trophy success. And what was Mitch like as a teammate and sort of just as a bloke off the pitch as well?
Great guy. I actually, when I left Stevenage, I went to Rochester Rhinos.
Yeah.
I retired again, and I was getting into coaching at Rochester, and I ended up playing a player coach thing. But I actually rang Mitchell to see if he fancied coming, but he was quite settled and what have you. So I actually rang a few of the Stevenage players.
Okay. Yeah.
but they timing wasn't right and what have you. But so it was awful what happened. Everyone knew there was a bit of a heart condition, but obviously didn't realise it was that serious. But but you look back now, he had an incredible FA Trophy final performance. And you think, what, I'm glad that happened.
Yeah, and that was, that FA Trophy as well. We touched on the 7-0, which got us there, or one of the games that got us there. The final itself was quite a momentous occasion for you, in fact, as a player as well, wasn't it? Becoming one of the players, I think it's alongside Jeff Kenner, to have played at both the old and the new Wembley.
Right. Okay. Well, I really want to talk about this final. But yeah, I mean, it was, just to finish, it was an incredible season at Stevenage. I didn't expect it. I'd retired, and then to come in and be with such a talented manager, such a talented group of players, really, really, re-energized me, as it were. And I really, really felt I was contributing, and I was really enjoying my football, really. And then just a couple of months before the final, I pulled my calf.
Right.
I never pulled my calf in my career. In fact, I hardly ever had any muscle strain throughout my whole career. I was really fortunate in that. But anyone's had a calf muscle, they're nightmares. I didn't realise. So I pulled it. Woking, we're playing Woking. I remember, and I pulled my calf, and I was like, "Whoa, what's this?"
I remember that for better memories. I think we scored a last-minute goal against them. So as a Stevenage fan, we loved that game. Obviously,
Right.
I think we were 2-1 down, and then scored a last-minute winner from, was it a penalty? Maybe, I believe, or
I can't remember. I remember it was Gary Hill, the manager. There, am I? Or was it?
I'm
Might
trying
be,
to.
no, was it Glenn Cockrell? Might have been.
Yeah, I think Glenn. I think
Yes.
the equaliser might have been a penalty. I think it was Craig Dobson, in fact, that scored the winner.
Right, Dobber. Right, okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, I pulled my calf, and then within a few weeks tried to come back, pulled it again, and just a bit of lack of experience on because I just not had a muscle injury. And I look back now, and we got to the trophy final. So I played in all the games, and obviously got to the semi-final against Grays. I was injured, and I was desperately trying to get fit for the final. Desperately trying, and in hindsight, I look back now, I wasn't fit. And it wasn't an intentional thing. I just thought, my calf had cleared up, and it's a real shame personally, because before I pulled that calf, it was just fantastic. And then really, I think it was just age catching up with me. I pulled my calf, and it was almost like, listen, you've had 4 or 5 months of fun now get back into reality. So, I went into that final. And I played right wing because Mitchell was doing so well, and he was left wing.
Yeah.
And it went awfully for me. It went terribly for me. It was. And I look back. Oh God, probably my ego of wanting to, because I figured it was going to be my last game. I wasn't playing again. So I thought, well, play at Wembley, last game, fairy tale.
You want to put on a big performance, yeah.
And I probably swept myself along on that a little bit, rather than listening to my body. I know we went 2-0 down. Listen, a few funny stories in it. We went 2-0 down. I know I was at fault for one of them. I might have been at fault for both of them. And it was just one of those days where no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't get myself going for whatever reason. Like that, I think age caught up with me that day.
Okay.
But we were going down the tunnel at half time, and the Kidderminster players started really giving a little bit of lip saying all over, done and dust, like really like stupid.
Oh wow,
stupid. So anyway, a bit of a fight ensued down the tunnel, which I think I was too busy just in an absolute daze to get involved in it because of the stink bomb I just had. So anyway, so we went into the dressing room, and the manager had kind of been involved in it, and there was all sorts of chaos and this, that, and the other. So I honestly think I should have been took off at half time, but I think Stimo forgot because of all the things that had happened.
Oh, okay. And then that's how you stayed on.
Anyway, so I got a reprieve. I got a reprieve and went out in the second half and did just as badly. So and this is where the thing is like I feel like I made a difference and changed the game, because they took me off and put Dobbo on.
And Dobbo
got the goal. In the Mitchell goal. So I guess to sum up, it was one of my mates went to the game, and I didn't end up speaking to him for a year for no reason, just didn't see each other. And then a year after that final, he bumped into me, and the first thing he said was, "Have you got over it yet?" and I think, in all seriousness, we won the game, thank goodness.
Yeah.
If we'd have lost the game, I'd never forgiven myself for not for chasing a silly dream. Whereas we won the game, it was a fantastic comeback, and actually made it more and more exciting for everyone. So the fact that we won, I can forgive myself for maybe playing one game too many for Stevenage.
And that game was brilliant, wasn't it, as well? 2-0 down, and then you said it there. They were living it up at half time, as if the game was done and dusted. And then we come back. Dobbo gets the goal, Mitchell gets the goal. Oh, sorry, it was Mitchell and then Dobbo, wasn't it? And then Steve Morrison right at the death as well, the last minute or two, to win it in the way that we did as well. From a fan's perspective, that was it was brilliant.
No, absolutely, and you know, and it was nice. You know, the thing I guess I got out for it. A Trivial Pursuit question where I'm the first person to win at the old Wembley and the new Wembley. You know,
Yeah.
and so you know, I got something out of it that maybe I didn't deserve, but you know, listen, it was the whole thing getting to the final that season, from being bottom of the league to the run we had. You know, I really feel proud of my own efforts in that season. And like I said, it was just the final. Unfortunately for me, age caught up with me, and I probably shouldn't have played, but we won.
And that's the main thing. And then, of course, from Stevenage, you went on and then you moved back to playing out in America again as the player coach at Rochester Rhinos, as you said. And, you know, how did you find that as a role, sort of, you know, on the coaching side, getting started into the coaching side of it now?
Yeah, absolutely loved it. Like I say, as I sort of alluded to earlier, you know, position-specific coaching, 1v1s. This was a chance that this formula that I'd come up with was to put it into practice. You know, so we did it. I obviously did it with Sean Maloney in the training camps and whatever. Yeah. So now I'm in Rochester and I get daily, you know, training daily with players, and we really got after it. And I did manage to play a little bit out there. Which was good. I played left wing, and we had a left winger, Irish boy called Danny Earls, who I managed to recruit from Aston Villa, which was great. You know, the manager at Rochester, Darren Tilley, really liked him as well. And I'd been training at Villa to try and get myself fit for the Rochester experience. So I used to stand out on the wing, and Danny used to run up and down the line for me. It was great. But more importantly, we had the season where, you know, I could work as a coach, you know, continue, you know, working on this 1v1 thing. We actually nearly won it all. It was incredible story, really. It was where the old manager left when we came in. And first day of pre-season, 6 players turned up.
Oh, wow.
And so there was an incredible amount of change that needed. And I think we lost our first 6 games. Very similar to Stevenage, I guess.
Yeah.
We lost our first 6 games. Which is hardly surprising, but then we managed to sign a lad called Ross Smith, who'd been in the lower leagues in England. He came out, Canadian boy, shored up the defence. Danny Earls, as I said, left wing, and left back, and we signed a couple of other players, and we ended up going on an incredible run. We must have been really close to losing our jobs that first 6 games.
Yeah,
because the owner was volatile. To put it he was an incredible guy. You know, he used to survive every day on Coca-Cola and cigarettes.
Oh, wow.
So at the beginning of the day, you talk to him about a player you wanted to sign, and he'd be like, no, I'm not sure it's in the budget. But by the end of the day, when he's like 10 cans of Coke and 40 fags deep, he had so much caffeine in him. He used to get ramped up, and he was almost like, do you want to sign him? Let's sign him. Let's sign him. You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
I think he was so caffeined up.
Yeah.
He was capable of anything in the afternoons. Morning he was quiet. The afternoons he was crazy.
Forgets who he is, and he's just like, "Yep, that's fine. You can sign anyone you want. You want Messi? Go and get Messi."
It was. But you know, but we lost a few games and straight off the bat. But we managed to turn the tide, and we ended up getting to the semi-finals of the playoffs, and we were 10 minutes away from the final, and conceded from set piece and knocked us out. But that was, you know, a fantastic year, and the coaching was great. And then it was time to move on.
And then, of course, you went to Colorado Rapids after that, alongside Gary Smith, of course, another one who has been linked at Stevenage as well. Of course, had a spell at Stevenage as manager. So, you know, that was moving to Colorado there, lifting the MLS Cup, and you know, sort of being involved over there. So, you know, what was it like sort of working alongside Gary Smith as well? And did you know much about him before that sort of time?
Yeah, well, me and Gary's story go way back to when we were 21 years old. We were both playing in Wycombe Wanderers reserves.
Right.
When then Martin O'Neill came in, and we both got propelled into the first team. You know, sadly for him, you know, serious injuries curtailed his career, and he went into coaching a lot earlier. So he was finished around about 27, 28, got into his coaching at Arsenal, Wimbledon, and things like that.
Yeah.
And we just stayed in touch always. You know, we used to go on holiday, you know, even when I was at Leicester or Port Vale and that, we'd always find a way of having a bit of a lads' holiday. Got on really well. So when I was out in Rochester, it was uncanny how it came about. I was out in Rochester and I was speaking to him saying, listen, this is great out here. This is the football's great. I think we could do really well. And then literally the words had left my mouth, and he was offered a role with Arsenal to go and start up an academy at Colorado Rapids. So he went out there to do that, but they were bottom of the league, struggling. Yeah. And their manager basically did a runner, and Gary was left holding the fort. Mm-hmm. Did really well in a little interim period. They just missed out on the playoffs from being bottom of the league. He really turned it around. So he was given the job. When he got the job, he got me in as the assistant, and that's really where our coaching life together began. Where within 2 years of being bottom of the league, I have to say we won the MLS Cup, which was an amazing achievement for him, I thought.
And then, that was a big achievement for Gary Smith. And of course, even for the club as well, Colorado Rapids there. But then after that, you went into some more clubs back in England again, Sunderland being one. Also, I think you had a spell at Nottingham Forest, didn't you, as well? But also Republic of Ireland and coaching on the Republic of Ireland side of things as well in the national team.
Yeah, how it all came about really is we won the MLS Cup at Colorado. And Martin O'Neill, who I've always stayed in touch with, who's been a absolute great inspiration for me and someone who I could call upon for advice. He was actually following our progress at Colorado. Okay. He was staying up 3-4 more in the morning to watch our playoff games as we started to progress through the playoffs. Yeah. It was amazing, really. You think we beat. Whoever it was, we beat on our way, Columbus, San Jose, and you get in after the game, and 3-4 o'clock in the morning in England, and he's left a message saying, "Just watch the game, fantastic. I'm off to bed now." You know what I mean? It was It was a real shot in the arm to both Gary and myself that someone was paying that much attention. So and in the meantime, I was talking to him on the phone about the 1v1 idea and the coaching I was doing, and he really liked the sound of it. So when it ended at Colorado, he just got the job at Sunderland, and there was a few wingers there that he wanted me to work with. So I kind of went in more on a trial period than anything else, because he had Steve Walford and Robbo had been there for so long. But I kind of things went all right for me, and he offered me a full-time job. So that's how it started at Sunderland. But you're right. I mean, Republic of Ireland, the Irish gig was something else, I have to say. You have to the thing. When you're representing a country, it was incredibly, phenomenally special. And the thing was, the team wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. It was just a togetherness. And the lads who were so desperate to represent their country, really carried us through. It reminded me really of my time at Leicester, I suppose, where the togetherness and overcoming the really, bigger teams and being able to beat them. If we were playing, our best player really was Seamus Coleman, who's obviously a very...
Yeah, Everton. Yeah. Uh-huh.
But, you don't really want your best player to be a fullback, really.
No.
Our centre forward really who carried us for large periods was John Walters, who was in and out of the Stoke City team. Mm-hmm. But a really good lad, But there was Robbie Brady and these Richie Keogh, all players who a lot of them weren't playing in the Premiership, and if they weren't, they weren't regulars. Where we'd be playing teams who are full of players, in the Champions League, and to qualify, we qualified for the 2016 European Championship.
Yes. The Euro.
And it was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in football, where we beat the world champions Germany, in Dublin 1-0 to make the playoffs. Incredible. They were world champions at the time.
Yeah,
beat Germany.
Yeah.
Unbelievable achievement, really. And then we drew Bosnia in the playoffs. So home and away playoffs, and where was echo up front for them, Panic,
Yeah.
world-class stars. And to beat them, we beat them 2-0 at home. John Walter scored both goals. It was honestly to make it against the odds, to qualify, was really testament of Martin O'Neill and Roy Keane, of their management quality. They really dragged every ounce out of all these players. It was great to be around. Great learning experience for me.
And you had a time at Nottingham Forest, as we were saying as well. There's another guy that I talked to, Luke, who's a big Forest fan. Just wanted to know what that was like. So obviously, your spell at Nottingham Forest, obviously coached there.
Yeah, I mean, it was a strange experience. I mean, obviously Forest, great club, brilliant club. Everyone was really keen to do well, but it didn't work out. Listen, when you leave these clubs, you have to sign these contracts that you're not allowed to talk about it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But we won our last 3 games of the season going into the summer, and then 1 week into pre-season, we were fired. Wow. Listen, I look back now, and at the time it was just like, well, what was the point of that? But the honest truth is, you know what? I think the way football's changed is I think it's a generational thing. Whereas we're entertained with social media or these reality programs. Everyone wants to be entertained. So we were in the past, if someone got sacked, a manager got sacked, and for no real reason, the supporters would be up in arms. Saying, hold on a minute, what are you doing to our club here? This is a big club. This. Whereas now, someone gets sacked, it's almost like, well, this is entertaining. Who's coming in next? And no one really asks any questions, and that's the way it is. So I could go on and give reasons why we did, why we're down. The truth is, no one cares. Everyone's excited about a new manager coming in and what's going to be, and that's the way football has gone. So that's how it turned out.
Okay, fair enough. So we touched on your time coaching Republic of Ireland. Obviously, you played for England as well. You had 1 cap for England in the seniors, but you also played under 21. Also played B team football for England, and also in the England non-league side as well. So what's that like? Sort of donning the England shirt.
Oh, of course, it's fulfilling a dream. Comes with a bit of a stigma with only getting 1 cap. I know I've got my own chapter in a book, The One Cap Wonders. And I understand, but you're right. I mean, the journey was, if you take you back to the beginning where I'm playing park football with my mates kick a ball from 16 to 18, and then at 18, 10 years on, I'm walking out to play for England. It was an unusual career. It really went down a road that not many did, when you look at the seniors as well, when you got into that England senior side, and you're thinking back to how it all started for you as a player, and you're lining up, alongside the likes of Alan Shearer. I think Michael Owen was there. I think Tony Adams, Paul Ince, Jamie Redknapp. I think Frank Lampard might have been involved. David Seaman, Martin Keown. Yeah,
there were some massive names there that you were lining up alongside. Sorry.
No, of course. Well, it's the England team. I mean, I was up against Steve McManaman for a starting spot.
Yeah.
So it is really, I get it. While people, like the idea of a 1 cap wonder. This is, and of course, if you play once, you want to play more than once. I actually made three squads.
Okay.
We beat Belgium on my debut, which was
2-1. Yeah.
It was great. Actually, one thing on that is that like I say, my dad was a big influence throughout my whole career, and and it was he's been through plenty of highs and lows, which is football's a roller coaster ride. So we talk about all the great times, but there was obviously lows as well.
Yeah.
So he'd followed me home and away every game throughout my whole career. So when I got to play for England, I remember lining up to sing the national anthem, which you only do at finals or play for your country. So it was unusual. So you know, I remember lining up with my England shirt on. They start playing Southampton, and I see my dad in the crowd. And you think,
nice.
okay, is this going to be like an emotional moment or not? And we looked at each other and we both burst out laughing.
Yeah.
Because it was just like, can you believe it's come to this? You know,
you're sort of shell shock. Yeah.
It was almost like a flashback of in the back garden as a kid, you know, and then, you know, not kicking a ball for 2 years where he would have been upset at me giving up at 16. And then ultimately we keep going and I get this England cap. But I made the next squad. We played Scotland in the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah.
We obviously a big game. And I wasn't sub. We went up to Handham, played in Scotland first leg. I wasn't sub. I wasn't involved. Paul Scholes scored 2 great goals. We beat Scotland 2-0. So we came down to Wembley to play the second leg. And Kevin Keegan was the manager again. Pulled me and said, "You're not starting the game. You come on at halftime."
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, okay, this is good. So he goes, whatever you do, just get ready, be ready for coming on at halftime.
Yeah.
So I'm out there warming up. It was freezing cold night. I remember that. And then Don Hutchinson goes and scores for Scotland. Before half time. Of course that wasn't in the script. And they actually played very well that day, Scotland. So half time we came in and he changed his mind. So obviously with it now in the balance whether we're not going to get to playoffs. So he went down a more defensive route, which I understand. But that's just to add the story for what it's worth. That was how close I came for a second cap.
Super close then. And Kevin Keegan, who obviously you knew from your time at Newcastle as well, and also said that you were like a left-footed version of David Beckham at one stage, didn't he, as well? And he still didn't even bring you on against Scotland. So
there you go.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't. I mean, obviously David Beckham played against him many times for Man United, and he's someone who got better and better every year. But yeah, he had a fantastic right foot. I always used to moan to anyone who would listen when I was playing that I was wing back and he was right wing playing for Man United, so he didn't have to beat anyone. They would just give him the ball and he would be able to create. Well, I had to try and create everything myself. That was my excuse back in the day. But it was nice to be mentioned in those sort of echelons, I should say.
And actually, you played, in that game against Belgium as well, alongside current boss Gareth Southgate as well, wasn't it? And he was one of the centre backs that day.
Yes. No, it was someone actually read out the team to me recently, I forgot, to be honest. But Frank Lampard was making his debut that day.
Yeah, that's right.
So that turned out all right for him, I think. So listen, it's the England team. What do you expect? It was an absolute pleasure.
And so that was your time there playing for England. So let's have a look here. Obviously, as a player, for multiple different clubs, what was your sort of overriding relationship like with fans of clubs as well? Was it always really good? And
Well, I think you look back now. I mean, Wycombe Wanderers was really, it all started with the Vauxhall Conference. What a whirlwind that was to win the league. Win the trophy twice. League Two, blah blah blah. So it was great. As a left winger, when you're out in that wing, you do tend to hear everything. There's a bit of a graveyard shift out there, and I think I was a little bit of an acquired taste at times because I was, as I keep saying, all about taking players on, getting crosses in, heading and tackling wasn't really my strong point.
Okay,
and I think back in those days, that was unusual. And it's still, in England still today, you almost get as big a roar in the crowd when someone wins a challenge on the halfway line as you do when someone scores a goal.
Yeah, 100%.
It's just in the English psyche, but I wasn't like that at all. So I'm sure a few fans didn't warm to me always, but I to try and counter that, I always tried to make sure I worked harder than everyone else on the pitch and off it, for that matter. Practicing most afternoons and things like that, which now as a coach I know no one does. So I tried to make up for it in other ways.
And of course, now you're coaching with Nashville as well, which is, of course, where you are at the moment. What's that like? Obviously, coaching there, and is it a specific age group, or sort of what sort of ages are you coaching there, and things like that?
Well, I mean, obviously Nashville. We're been in the MLS team, or MLS franchise of 2 years now. Back with Gary Smith, of course.
Yeah,
It couldn't have gone much better, to be honest. We, if you look around the MLS, new franchises, Miami, David Beckham's team.
yeah.
There he is again. Cincinnati, Austin. There's a number of new franchises who came in around the same time as us. They're all languishing down at the bottom, and we finished joint second last year.
Brilliant. Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
The first year we came in, we made the playoffs, and we're sharing the stadium. We're sharing the Titans Stadium, Tennessee Titans Stadium, as well, which sometimes has its challenges. We're not able to train on it beforehand or anything like that. So the first year we got to the semi-final of the playoffs. Which is unheard of, and then we did it exactly again this year. We got the semi-final again, so I think we're Gary's done an incredible job there, and I'm like, I think my actual term is first assistant, whatever sounds important, doesn't it?
It does.
But, so that's I'm thoroughly enjoying it. It's been fabulously successful, but of course that was last season. We start our pre-season this weekend.
Okay,
we start again. We're off to Florida for a training camp for about a month or so.
Mm-hmm.
So it all starts again. So, but we have got, a group of very talented players, we believe, and obviously goes without saying, the position-specific coaching. I love it. The younger players, especially, are, we do some 1v1 work every single day.
Yeah,
and I think it shows. And one thing about this whole 1v1 thing is just in case anyone is interested, I've just started up an Instagram account where I've been loading up videos.
I've seen a couple of them myself. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I tried to, I've only just started this thing. I'm a bit late to social media, but I to try and offer, like-minded people out there videos, ideas. So if anyone fancies having a look at that, it's under my name, Steve Guppy, or Steve Guppy. But yeah, so the whole thing that of this 1v1, to me, to be really good at beating a player, you have to be in control of your own space, but also your own body. So when we're working at 1v1s and taking players on, for me, it actually encapsulates everything you need to do within the game. I know there's passing and things like that, but if you're in control of your own body and you're in control of your own space, then you're a long way to being a good player, or becoming a good player. So to work at it daily, I think it helps in all forms of the game. So that's something that we're really passionate about, and we try and do daily.
We just got a couple of final real points really I wanted to mention. So, obviously you said that you're working with Gary Smith again at Nashville now. What sort of advice do would you pass down to younger players that are looking to get into football, or might just be starting out with an academy and things like that?
Yeah, I obviously get this question asked a lot, and I've seen loads of academies and young players come and go. It really is. It is quite simple. Practice. If you think that you're going to go to if you're lucky enough to get in an academy, and you think that you're going to go train there 3-4 times a week and that's enough, then you're probably going to be in for a disappointment. You really have to practice. I think what you've got to try and remember is, to become a professional footballer, you're trying to do something really extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to behave in an extraordinary manner.
Yeah.
You have to practice. You have to be obsessive. I remember having this chat with Matt Letizia down in Southampton, because he came through. He came through Southampton's academy, but not till later on. But he believes that when he was living at home in Jersey, that he had a number of years just working with him, practicing on his own. He developed his own unique style, where I think a lot of academies, they almost try and create clones, where you've got wingers who are more give and go merchants than actually taking players on. And Letizia is a classic case. When you actually study how he was as a player, that's not something you would have learned in an academy. That's something he honed himself and had a natural talent for and made the most of what he had, for sure. Absolutely fantastic. I tried to do the same, in my career, where I just practiced, and that's something that my dad installed in me from an early age. Practice. And talking to I do a little bit of coaching here in Nashville with some younger kids.
Okay, yeah.
I enjoy it in the evening. It's just a bit of a hobby, really.
Yeah.
And I was telling them to keep a diary of the extra work. I said, I don't want to know what you do with your teams and your training with the clubs, because that's good. They take care of that.
Yeah, the stuff that they do as individuals. Yeah.
What do you do in the back garden, on your own, the local field, or whatever it is? What is that extra you do? Keep a diary. Because, I only passing on my own experience, because I used to do the same. Because if you don't, and it kind of keeps you honest, a diary. Whereas if you miss a day, then one day rolls into 2, 3, 4, and then all of a sudden you're not doing any extra work. Whereas if you do a diary, you sit down at the end of the day and you go, right, have I won the day today? I always say to my kids, win the day. What are you going to do to win the day? So keeping a diary, extra work, is massive. And remember what, you're trying to find out how good you can be. If that takes you to become a professional footballer, absolutely fantastic. But if it doesn't mean you failed. If you do the extra work and you give everything you got, then you've got a chance to find out how good you can be. And to me, that's really exciting. And I missed out, as a player. That was, to me, the most exciting bit. Okay, getting up through the League Two, to the Championship, to the Premiership was of course fantastic and really exciting. But the feeling of getting better every year as a player, and the extra practice and trying to strive to become as good as you can be is something I really miss.
And just a final, question or two, really. And I want to touch on, obviously, the FA Cup with the competition that's taking place over this weekend, and now the fourth round as well. And in particular, the Nottingham Forest and Leicester tie. That's going to be a massive game, isn't it? Two big rivals there, local rivals, and a good reward for Nottingham Forest to face off against the Leicester side that have been very successful in recent years as well.
Yeah, I think I'm right in saying they played each other in the cup about 8-9 years ago. Is that right?
I believe something like that. Yeah.
I actually went to the game. I think it was at the City Ground. Was it? Anyway, I was there. I know I was there. So it was great atmosphere. Yeah, I remember playing against Forest for Leicester back in the day. I actually scored, I think. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, fantastic rivalry. I know already, seeing on Facebook and other social medias that people are already ramped up for it. Obviously, I hope Leicester win, and I'm sure they will. But we will see.
Of course, as a former player, I'm sure when Leicester went on and they won the league, and of course they won the cup last season as well. They're great memories for Leicester fans. But I'm sure even as a former player, that's quite special to look back on a former club, doing things like that.
It was stuff of Hollywood. I remember. I don't know if I've got time to tell you this, but stop me if we haven't. But I was working out in Atlanta, I think, and I moved back to Leicester around about Christmas time, and it was the year they won the league. Leicester won the league, and they were doing obviously great things. They're top of the league. I was hearing from the kit man at Leicester that the players were all laughing. They didn't think they had a chance of winning it.
Oh wow!
They were just on a roll, and they were loving it. And then they went to Man City and beat them 3-1 or something like that. And after that game, they all thought, all of a sudden, it was like, hold on a minute, we actually could win it. And it all became a bit serious, I think. I wasn't there, I'm only second hand. But one thing I did do is when I moved back to Leicester, I went to a game just after Christmas, and they played Chelsea. They played Chelsea at the Walker Stadium. And a couple of things that struck me straight away, having been not involved, seeing it from far, came back to Leicester. Obviously, something special was happening. A couple of things that night. Firstly, they expected to beat Chelsea. I thought, okay, that's pretty good. But not only that, they expected Jamie Vardy and Mahrez to score. It was almost like they were waiting for him to score, both of them. And they beat Chelsea 2-1 that night, and Mahrez and Vardy scored. And it was almost like, for a period of time, someone had sprinkled some sort of pixie dust over the stadium where everything that everyone was saying would happen did happen. And it just gathered, and I ended up starting to do a little bit of media work with them, Leicester TV and what have you. So I was going on the road throughout the whole journey. So I was able to sample it, albeit from afar. And it really was amazing how a team to win the league, Man City. I know Pep Guardiola has talked about it's one of the greatest managers of all time, but he was manager of Man City when Leicester won the league. And there were so many, the odds were stacked against this team. And obviously, I got a friend in Leicester who didn't know anything about football, and he put on, I think it was like £100 bet for Leicester to win the league because the year before, true story, because the year before they won the league, they won their last few games to avoid relegation, if you remember, which made it all the more miraculous that so they just avoided relegation. So seeing he knew nothing about football, he looked at the odds and went, well, hold on a minute, Leicester are top of the form guide because they won their last 4 or 5 games. So he just put, I can't remember how much he put on, but he did. And then 4 or 5 games to go, the Labrooks or whoever it was who were coming to him offering him deals.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Like, should I take it? Should I not? And they're saying almost like, listen, I know you're into.
Please tell me he saw it all the way through to the end.
Oh, he did. Yeah, saw it all the way through. I think he became a little bit of a celebrity. I think he made the newspapers with it. But yeah, it was an unbelievable experience for them guys, them Leicester players, and to sample a little bit of myself and to see it unfold. Yeah, it was incredible.
And that was, obviously you mentioned there you were doing some stuff for Leicester TV as well. So is that something that you've done a little bit of stuff, a little bit of media stuff since coming out of the game as well? You've been involved in a little bit of media, that side of things? Yeah,
bits and pieces, not intentionally. I just, when I was ever moving back to Leicester, great friends of mine, Matty Elliott, Jerry Taggart, they're fantastic on the, they do Leicester TV. They're brilliant. Tony Cotty does it, Steve Walsh. So it was really spending the day with them, to be honest. And it's a really good number. I really enjoyed it. The guys who worked there as well, the presenters were good fun. Just to get there in the mornings, have a bite to eat and do a little radio thing, phone in, watch the game, and then come in and talk about it afterwards. It was pretty simple, really. But I really enjoyed it. But the fun part was working with Matty Elliott and Jerry Taggart. They were just hilarious.
And how do you look at those fan channels as a whole? Obviously there's like Arsenal, AFTV and things like that. Do you look at them as quite a positive thing, or do you look at them, a little bit more sinister?
Honestly, I haven't really got much of an opinion on it. I think Leicester City TV was obviously controlled by the club. There was nothing controversial being said, nothing outrageous. It was, and to be honest, there was nothing really bad to say. The team, was on a roll. It was all about heaping praise and saying this, that, and the other, and trying to temper expectation at the time because, obviously you can imagine that Leicester was spinning out of control as they headed towards the title. I mean, I remember when Leicester won the league, I was in a bar in Leicester watching the game because Tottenham were playing Chelsea.
That's right.
Chelsea won.
Yeah.
Tottenham were the only team that could stop Leicester at this point. And Chelsea did a number on them, and there was people in the bar saying, old guys saying the last time they experienced anything like that was when the war ended. The celebration, people were out on the streets. You imagine. So it was something else to at least be around and working around it. It was great.
And I just got Russ here as well. I'm going to bring him in actually just for 2 seconds because he's got a question he wants to ask you himself. So yeah, go ahead, mate.
Yeah, Steve, how you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, good. Well, it is, mate. Just because I know you're in Nashville. What was it like coming up against Dow DK last year against Orlando City in the playoffs? Because he's just recently moved to England to play for West Brom. So if there's any West Brom fans listening to this, what would you say kind of a player he is that they're going to be going when now he's come across to England on a permanent basis?
Yeah, well, DK, it's funny we're talking about him today. Funny enough, listen, he's a big lad, big, powerful. He always scored against us for some reason. So we're glad to see the back of him. You know, he's obviously playing at Orlando, came through the college system and just hit the ground running. And he's exactly that. I think he'd be a success. He obviously went to Barnsley on loan, which raised a few eyebrows at the time, but he really, you know, smashed the goals in the Championship, which which is an incredibly difficult league to play in. You know, it really is. It's 100 mile an hour. There's not a great deal of football played in it, and from my experiences in recent years, because it's just, you know, in the intensity that everyone's running around at is difficult to bring that quality. Maybe it's changed, but I think West Brom have signed someone who could really light it up. Obviously, still, you know, getting to be as good as he can be. He's still on that process, but he's big, he's strong, he's powerful, and he's got an eye for a goal. So, you know, I think they could have made a good signing there.
All right. So,
cheers, Steve. Just wanted to ask for any West Brom fans listening, man. That's all.
No problem.
Right. So I'll take that down. I've just got one or two more just from other people that have been asked as well. Actually, Russ, he wanted to know, you know, when you were at Leeds as well. Of course, you played under Kevin Blackwell. And he just wanted to know what that was like to play under him, and sort of whether you'd like to play under Marcelo Bielsa as well, I guess.
I think, yes, of course. Someone like him would be, I would imagine, be a privilege. Although the way they play, I think it would have been better if he signed me as a young man rather than an older guy. It was difficult under Kevin Blackwell. I would be lying if I said I enjoyed the experience, but also I have to understand that I was probably 36, 37, and sometimes, you know, when you're starting to slow up a little bit, you're sometimes the last to realize it. You know, I think it's funny that when you as you get older, you know, you can still feel you can do the same things. When I look back now, you know, I was doing, you know, being able to beat players or whatever, or trying to do that on the edge of the 18-yard box when I was in my prime, I guess. So around. But then when you get 36, 37, you're still doing the same things, but you're like 10 yards further back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's hard to explain it, you know. So, and then when I was ultimately at Rochester, towards 38, 39, still playing, and I'm doing it on the halfway line.
Wow.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm Danny Ells is flying down. So
yeah, so the older you got, the more sort of further back the picture.
You don't recognise it. Yeah, you don't realise what's going on. But I listen, it was great to play for Leeds United. Kevin Blackwell signed me, gave me the opportunity, which was great. But ultimately, it didn't really work out between the two of us.
And maybe if you played another 2 years, you might have actually ended up back in goal anyway.
No, I could have done. Well, if you'd seen me for Stevenage in the cup final, I probably was on the edge of the box giving it away. But hey, we've moved on from that now.
Yeah, and then obviously just a final couple of questions really. That's actually going back to your time at Stevenage. Sort of, you know, you might have touched on it earlier a little bit, but why did you choose to play at Stevenage at that sort of stage of your career? And if you were, you know, a player coming to the end of your career now, would you sort of make the same choice?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was like I say, we spoke about it really, didn't we? I didn't expect to be playing. I'd retired, but I got myself really fit working with Sean, as I spoke about, and so it was like an Indian summer. You know, it really was to go to Stevenage, who were bottom of the league at the time, and you know, so it was a bit of a risk, but you know, and you always think, am I going to be able to contribute? But of course, to be playing in what turned out to be an exceptional side, really.
And that's where it all, you know, it might have ended for you at Stevenage, really, but it's all, you know, that's where it all started for Stevenage, because, you know, on the back of that, you know, a couple of years later were, you know, promotions and, you know, winning the conference, going up. You know, you said about it with just a minute ago, you know, the momentum, obviously, with Leicester. Stevenage had a similar kind of thing. Like, you know, the Stevenage fans were going into the conference, and then obviously we won the conference, and, you know, we were playing League Two football, but we had that sort of wave, really. We were sort of riding that wave, and we thought, you know, we were going to go up and sort of do very well in League Two once again, as we did.
Yeah. No, well, you're quite right, and that was the lovely thing for me, is that I came in to Stevenage with no real expectations. Really, it was only really until Daryl Binns was fit. That was really the initial agreement. They say, look, I'll come and help out until he's fit. but we just went on such a roll, and obviously playing alongside George and Steve, and then when Bradley came in, Mark Baird is another one. Obviously, I mentioned Adam Miller, who I really thought was a good player. It was great, and I think they helped me as much as I tried to help them, because we went on this roll and winning, and obviously, for me, looking at someone like Mark Stimpson, how he did his things, so I wouldn't have changed anything. Obviously, like I say, we maybe towards my legs, but in the first, 3/4 of the season, I really, really enjoyed it, and I did feel I was contributing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just got another question here from Nicholas as well. He's a Wycombe fan. He just wants to know what it was like to play alongside Dave Carroll, Dave Jesus Carroll, as he was known.
I actually, and I could be wrong, I actually think I gave him the nickname of Jesus because he had the long straggly hair and but it stuck. But Dave was an incredibly talented winger, incredibly in a really, really great team that was stuffed full of talented players. Yeah, again, you're just talking about the Stevenage team, but we had Keith Scott up front, who went and played in the Premiership. Swindon, Ty Goodin, I was keeping him out of the team. Ty went on to play in the Premiership. And I think that Ty is one of my best mates now. And how lucky is he? I mean, he leaves Arsenal, comes to Vauxhall Conference, Wycombe Wanderers, and it turns out that me and him are vying for the same spot. I mean, he must have thought he'd just play every week, and so there was loads and loads of really good players in that team. I could go on and on, but Dave Carroll was exceptional. He really was, and some of the goals that he scored. I mean, one memorable goal that he scored when we beat Preston North End in the playoffs to go into League One, where he really ran from the halfway line, took everyone on. It was like Roy the Rover stuff. Dave, I often think about Dave and think, he was. I know when I was at Leicester City, Martin O'Neill tried to get him on loan to Leicester to give him that chance, in the Premiership. Yeah, but it didn't work out. And I sometimes think, that Dave was really unfortunate not to play a higher level, because I think he was probably good enough.
And then just the final question from Tom, who's in the chat as well. Just says, have you got any memories from playing against Southend? And then that'll be the last one. We'll leave it, after that.
Southend? No, to be honest. I think I did play against them. And I think in the first year at Wycombe, I believe. But no, I can't. I'll be lying. I'll be lying if I said I've got too many memories about Southend. But obviously, I know they've been in the league for many years, and I wish them well.
And then just finally, I think we'll wrap it up with this then. Really, obviously, you mentioned Nashville. Aims for this season for Nashville. What are you expecting, and what are you hoping for?
Well, we've been bumped into the other conference now. So we're in the Eastern Conference last year, and things went really well, which was great. But now we're in the Western Conference. So we're actually going to be doing more travel than any other team in MLS history. So I'm going to be seeing the country, if if nothing else. So, we're certainly... sorry, just turn the light on there. Well,
that's all right, mate. That's fine.
I've gone through 1 minute. When I first come on this podcast, the sun was in the eye, and now it's gone dark. So I must be boring everyone now. I've been on way too long. But
you're fine, mate. This is literally the end now, anyway. So yeah, it's all good.
No, so that's really, we're like I say, we start our pre-season on the 16th, I think. So it's coming round soon. We'll be in camp for a month or so down at IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. Sounds lovely, and it is, but a lot of hard work ahead of us, because we we've raised the bar quite high now, and we have to try and sustain it.
And then just final point, really, this is definitely 100% the final point regarding the COVID situation as well. Like, obviously, over in the States, are you going to be playing in front of supporters, and what was that like, obviously not having supporters there as well, or did you not really go through that?
No, we did. It was once again, it was our first season in MLS, and we played. It was incredible, really. We had our first game in MLS, so we joined the MLS. Our first game was against Atlanta United at home before COVID hit, before we knew what was coming. With 60,000 came to the game.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Like I say, we played at the Titans stadium, and we near on filled it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, wow, this is something else. And of
Yeah.
course, COVID hit within a matter of weeks, and then we went from that extreme to no fans for the season.
Yeah.
When we
and
had,
that was just so surreal, wasn't it, as well?
Oh, it was like the league got shut down for a period, and then we had this MLS startup thing. We had a camp down in Florida, so all the teams, we stayed in Disney, and everyone was like in a little bubble.
Okay,
and we were really unfortunate where we were in training for a couple of weeks, and COVID somehow found its way into our group, and basically took most of the team out. So we trained, and ultimately we couldn't compete. So we went home, and the MLS season started without us. So we were always 2 games behind everyone. And then when the season started, we played behind closed doors, home and away.
Yeah.
Like I say, to play catch up and end up making the playoffs and getting to the final, semi-final
without having the supporters there as well. That's
no, it was. I mean, obviously, it works in your favour when you're away from home, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But when we had that 60,000, and the excitement, it all sort of like got dampened down by a world, pandemic that we knew was coming.
All right, Steve. We'll wrap it up then, mate. It has been very, very long, but very enjoyable as well to get a bit of an insight and to talk to you about your career as well. And obviously, mentioned Stevenage in there amongst other things as well. But thank you for taking almost 2 hours out of your afternoon into your evening now. Go and get yourself some food and go and make the most of the rest of your evening. Go and do something that you want to be doing now rather than this.
No, it was a pleasure. Thanks for having me on. I was glad. It was nice to. A long time ago now, but it was nice to talk about Stevenage and explain some things that went on. And like I say, if anyone's interested and want to learn more about 1v1s, then maybe follow me on my Instagram and I'll try and entertain them.
All right, perfect. Just plug that Instagram one final time.
The Instagram, Steve Guppy. Yeah, Instagram 1v1s. If you want to get better, I'm your man.
Perfect. Good stuff, mate. Take care.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye now.